So, first, a confession that even though I'm privileged to chair the board of MMA Global in India, I leave my marketing days far, far behind. So, as my introduction mentioned, I've been running businesses for a while, both in India and outside. And what I was hoping to do in the next 15, 20 minutes is actually set up a dialogue. You know, one of the lines I'm going to use is uh, brand marketing has moved from, talking to consumers to listening to them and setting up an active dialogue. So what I'll try to do is speed through some of my remarks so that we can actually spend some time chatting. And I'd love to hear from you as well, and maybe a counterpoint, because at MMA, listening to our key stakeholders is as important as telling them about all the wonderful toolkits which we have and how we are going to empower you guys. So I just want to get a sense from the audience in terms of how many are you with marketing functions of your respective organizations? Okay, about half of you. How many of you are like functions other than marketing? Business, all right. Okay, I'll be speaking to a lot of you. People from agencies. There's my co-chair, PK, welcome. PK, I'm sure, is going to be here immediately after, and you know, he runs by far the largest media behemoth in the country. So wonderful to have you over here. But I think what's really wonderful is the fact that India is now emerging to be a really important destination for global multinationals. Coincidentally, in the last 3 months, I've been invited to come and talk to visiting boards of Fortune 200 companies, I think 3 times now in the last 3 or 4 months. So that will give you an idea of what's happening. You open up the ET, I think 5 times a week, there's a lead story of a global CEO telling us, guess what? What's going to happen in India? And I go, whoa, okay. So there are obviously many things which we don't know, which these global visitors are going to tell us. But we are going to do it slightly different here. Today we are privileged to have Greg, who is the head of MMA globally. And he's going to be talking to us about what is really hot and happening globally, not in India. Yeah? And hopefully we are going to take a leaf from some of the things which he spoke about yesterday and shall be sharing some more today. Rohit, who runs our Asia practice, of course, he's been just a complete thought leader in the 4 years we have worked together, Rohit. And I must confess that a lot of the stuff which you put out there, I struggle to keep pace with the rate at which you evolve. And that's what's so nice about MMA, that we like to look beyond the corners. But before I go ahead, I would be remiss in not acknowledging my team over here. So I just want to call out specifically to Monica, Tanya, Rudra, Lloyd, Ranjana, Priyanka, Vivek, and of course Rohit, for getting all of us together. And as the day progresses, I'm sure you're going to see the value in the time which you are investing over here. So what I'm going to do let me time myself so that I actually can keep my promise of keeping some spare time for us to chat. Yeah. And I'd really appreciate a challenge now and then, so that would be very cool. What I'm going to do as a setup to our conversation over the next 10 minutes, I'm going to share with you what MMA does. You know, there are a lot of these trade bodies who do funny things. They take out white papers, toolkits, etc. And one can't really understand what's happening. What they do very well is give awards, and all of us love getting awards, so we turn up for the award shows. I'm being slightly cynical here to make a point. So at MMA, our board, which PK co-chairs with me, we made a resolve that we are going to seriously impact our stakeholders. Whether it's marketing agencies or brand organizations, B2B players, every which way, we are going to measure ourselves. And this is a commitment which we have made. And we'd love to hear from you towards the end of the day in terms of how rewarding this experience has been for you. So I'm going to share with you some excerpts from a board meeting which we had last year. Yeah? And the challenge which we pose to ourselves is, hey, given the wealth of CMOs and CEOs which we have in MMA, it would be a pity if we can't look beyond the corners. We can't wait for the future to happen to us. We should be shaping the future. And Rohit gave you some very good toolkits and aids which can help you create the future over here. So we pretty much, I must take credit for it, and we went out into the media where we forecasted a slowing down of consumption. Yeah? And we also talked about the fact that there is going to be a fragmentation of consumer trends. There's going to be no one size fits all. Of course, we are privileged to have partners like GroupM and Kantar and Nielsen, etc., who pretty much are the experts in doing this. But to give you a sense of the kind of conversations which happened is, we had the Kantar CEO who came in and said something which you read about in the media all the time, that there is going to be a K-shaped development of our markets. However, the K is not a simple, अच्छा एक ऊपर जा रहा है, एक नीचे जा रहा है. What we are seeing is there are now thousands of micro markets which are displaying different behaviors. It's not as simple as what you read in Economic Times saying, today, for example, should I take the name of the player? Why not? It's a public listed company. Dabur, yeah? Two completely different growth trends in urban and rural. Urban declining, rural going up, yeah? But it's not as simple as that. So what we are seeing is, and thanks to the help from our board, is that within urban, there's some pockets of very, very high growth, right? And not led by geography. It's led by consumer archetype. And in rural, very clearly we can see that rural growth has catapulted from 3 to 5 to 6%, and rural, at least for FMCG, is growing at least 2x of urban. But that's simplifying it. What one has to do is peel the layers and look very deeply inside into terms of what is the trend by cohort, by geography, urban, rural, etc., etc. So there is going to be a very, very serious amount of heavy data handling. And that really sets up, the discussion for the rest of my talk. We marketeers, I could see almost 70, 80% of us are either marketeers in our organization or with agencies. We have to move away from being artists and people who do rarefied things like insights, brand positioning, communication, usually unidirectional, to becoming scientists. And we have to become scientists in many different areas. Sorry. This is the problem of smart watches. Okay, I'm going to put it away. I was timing myself. Yeah. So, this is a classical case of a watch talking back to you. Yeah, so everything is a dialogue right now. Yeah. So we need to really get doses of science, and I'm hoping that my colleague Greg is going to make a case about that in terms of how we need to evolve the capability of our teams which work with you, around you, yourselves, towards recognizing that with streams of data, immense complexity comes in the fact that we need to now become very, very data savvy, not just in terms of using the data, but structuring it, making sure that our go-to markets, all our media presence is something which generates high-quality consumer data, behavioral data, for us to build greater intimacy with consumers. So that is one theme, which I'll just leave with you, and then we can keep revisiting these themes as we chat. The second theme, which came out very powerfully from the MMA board, and I remember Nikhil Sharma, who's the CEO of Perfetti, he spoke about it with great passion, is that our marketing teams, in particular our CMOs, if they want a seat at the board table, and I believe there's going to be discussion around it today, Monica, yeah? They need to get far more business accountable. Yeah, so we marketeers, if you compare yourself, no offense guys, I was a marketeer for a decade, yeah, before I moved on to the business end of it, yeah. we have this very precious existence. We've got these wonderful budgets, while our colleagues in supply chain and finance, etc., they've got minuscule budgets and they've got 19 KPIs which they have to report against. However, we marketeers talk about esoteric things like brand equity and recall and all that, and we spend crores and crores, and at the end of the day, we have this very old saying which goes, half the money spent on marketing is a waste. But guess what? Nobody knows which half. Yeah? So we have to become far more accountable as marketeers. Nikhil, I was just talking about you. You walked in on cue. Huh? Take the curtain call over here. Mm-hmm. So Nikhil is the guy who's the bad man. I'm just speaking for him. I'm saying how you are after every marketeer's happiness. Yeah? Take a seat. And so it is very, very critical that our CMOs, apart from being very good at spending money, also become very good at saving money. Yeah? Why? Because all of us now are privileged to be at the cutting edge of technology usage. And I'm going to give you a few examples of that as I go along. And there are enough case studies, and you'll be hearing a few more for the rest of the day today, in terms of how marketeers can create transformational shifts in their spend patterns and their dialogues with consumers and building customer intimacy. So I was recently reading something, once again in the public space of a listed company, Bajaj Finance. We know it is a miracle in the world of finance where you keep reading things about how, one fintech after another keeps going belly up. And Bajaj Finserv is like, they're creating unbelievable value in billions. At the same time, an immensely successful organization like them, they've taken their call center, which had 8,500 people, and over the last year or so, re-engineered it to have 3,000. Yeah? These are serious numbers, guys. We are talking about India, financial services, growth economy, Bajaj Finance growing in the high teens. They take a significant part of their cost and slash it by half. And I believe that the story is not over. What did they do? They used technology, especially their marketeers. They used the whole plethora of chatbots, voice bots, and all those things which you guys know much better than I do, in building a much higher NPS, much better customer experience, and at the same time, they took out a chunk of cost which they redeployed in building the customer experience. Now, I'm sure as you start thinking about it, each one of you can think of an example like that. But my invitation to all of you is technology is here, and if you as marketing leaders are not looking at productivity, if you're not looking at a far more efficient way of doing things and making your teams far more agile, then you're not doing your jobs. Okay, moving on. The third theme, okay, so guess what? You come and given me this gyan, how do I do it? So going back to the fact, all of us have to become scientists. We have to become technology mavens. And I know most of you already are. It's an absolute pleasure, and I'm looking forward to our interactions over the breaks in understanding how you guys are leveraging technology. But, there's a lot of chat about AI. And, very often AI is used as a catch-all. So I'm using it as a catch-all right now. Yeah. So beneath AI, there are all kind of technology platforms which are being used. And the most important part is that the consumers are leading the usage of AI incredibly well. So the Indian consumer, average age 27, Rohit talked about the fact he's a data-hungry shark. He gobbles more data than any other counterpart in the rest of the world at 1/10 the price. Yeah. So, we've got data-hungry consumers, and they are brilliant at using technology. And if we are not keeping pace with them and ahead of them, we will be missing a very big opportunity. So what I did as, a prep for the speech last night, I called up one of my board colleagues, Chella, who heads up marketing for Jubilant Foods, Domino's. Yeah. I think they pretty much have among the largest first-party databases outside the world of e-commerce. So he obviously has got a serious opportunity, and I'm sure you'll get to meet him in an informal discussion later. And I asked him, hey, Chela, can you share with me what's happening in the QSR industry? Yeah, I can see that industry is really challenged. We were talking about K-shaped recovery. There are a couple of brands in the world of QSR which are growing very smartly. And then 8 out of 10 of the listed companies are going south at a rapid rate of knots. How do you explain that? And one of the explanations was around how well marketing has embraced technology in various organizations. So for example, Domino's, thanks to the wealth of data which they have, they create customized offers, promotions on the behavior of consumers. Yeah, they know what they order, when they order, what are the price bands, what they combine their foods with. For example, for a lot of us Delhiites over here, we know that Tuesday is a very slow day for QSRs. Greg, for your benefit, Tuesday is a lot of North Indians turn vegetarian. Don't ask me why, but we do. Yeah. So now the marketing engine at Domino has the ability to start forecasting these kind of trends. And it starts a multitude of promo offers, customized offers, literally on an individual customer level. That is the level of personalization which that drives. Yeah. Guess what? A lot of us do have access to data, but it's sitting there in our wonderful data lakes, and we are not doing very much with it. Dynamic pricing, promotions. McDonald's has made it into fine art. At any point of time, McDonald's is recalculating what is the pricing, what are the promos, depending on the consumer cohorts, profiles, geography, etc. At any point of time, even if the number of burgers and Cokes is declining in volumes, if hypothetical, their AOVs are going up and they continue to report growth. So that is a great example of marketing in slowing times. So you have consumers who are stressed, they've got all kind of pressures, inflation's blah, blah, blah. I won't bore you with macroeconomic stuff, which all of you read. I can see some yawns in the background, sorry about that. Yeah, no more gyan. But the fact of the matter is, you can still grow if you were to identify what are the right cohorts, and if you can, as great marketeers, personalize your offerings and build brand intimacy against them. Then there are any number of examples. For example, the folks at Yum restaurants and Pizza Hut and KFC, so we have to do the roll of honor. They have a predictive AI model which on an SKU store day part level now is generating what are the kind of supplies which these restaurants need. And you will see in some of the global returns that the wastage factors have come down by more than half in the last year. So the case I'm making over here, then there's, like Chela did an incredible job, smart store operations, voice ordering, a lot of these things I'm sure some of you have already used. So I'm not going to drain this, but I can tell you I've got a 10-point checklist of how technology has been adopted in less than 1 year at a very reasonable cost and has given a positive payback within the year. Now guess what? If all of us can do that and go back to our respective boards and say, hey, this is what marketing is doing for you, you will get a seat on the table. And that's going to be a dialogue which we're going to have very soon. I'm going to rush through now, yeah? And finally, one more thought, which is a personal favorite, having, I go back to my days in sales and marketing. See, for the longest time, what I've seen in India as I used to come in and out, is we've had 3 big pillars, at least for the last decade. You got GT, MT, and e-commerce, right? And that is how we saw organizations evolve. And very often what I've seen as I talk to my colleagues in the industry, we got these 3 fantastic silos over there. And guess what? The silos don't talk to each other. Why? Because guess what? E-commerce is eating general trade's lunch. They hate the guys in e-commerce. The e-commerce guys hate the guys in quick commerce. and so on and so forth. Let me not, kill this over here, but the point is the consumer doesn't care. As a consumer, I effortlessly glide between all these channels. I'm researching online, I'm purchasing offline. I'm researching offline, I'm purchasing online. I'm seamlessly my consumer journey. I can literally buy the same category twice in a day, one through quick commerce and one there in trade. And I can see Nikhil nodding, saying, that's what I'm seeing in Perfetti is bizarre. I don't know what to do. But guess what? That's the opportunity for us. So the question I will leave for ourselves over here is, how do we organize ourselves? So 4 years back at L'Oreal in India, we did something very unpopular. We took all these fantastic silos with this big 20-year experienced veterans and we threw them all together and said, dude, you are now one commercial organization. And we put in a dose of marketing into that organization, because all the performance marketeers, etc., guess what? Half the job description is driving preference into conversions. So they also have to be a part of sales. And everybody was thrown into this happy family and said, now all of you own the same consumer. You have to track the same consumer. We don't care about your silos, because the consumer doesn't care for your silos. And we have to organize ourselves the way the consumer is evolving. But as we spoke about it in the board, guess what? A lot of us still have those venerable silos of ours. So what do we need to do? I'm going to now do a generous skip forward so that we have some time to build a dialogue, and leave you with a couple of key takeaways. Yep. The consumer has evolved. You've been a victim of this, literally. Some of you are leading that evolution, I'm sure. And we are not evolving fast enough. As great marketeers, our job is to lead the change and not follow it. Our job is to forecast it. Very importantly, our job is to build rare segmented capabilities in ourselves and our team. So as leaders, if you're not building those capabilities in the teams to follow those consumers and build the kind of intimacy, the authenticity of your brands, the trust and credibility, you're failing. So I'd like that to be a very, very important key takeaway for us. And here's the marketing plug. At MMA, our job is to guide, equip, and challenge and help you build that capability. So those of you who are our members, we are privileged to have you members. And if you're not getting the joy which I'm claiming, please come back and talk to me and Monica, and we'll make sure that you get that joy. And those of you who are not members, guess what, guys? You're missing a trick. Hurry up. What are you waiting? We'll tell you where to sign over lunchtime. And finally, in ending, what I'd ask you to take away is be obsessed with driving value. If you're obsessed with driving value for consumers, you'll create value for your teams, your shareholders, your corporations, and use technology to break through those silos, improve the customer experience, reduce the cost, build customer intimacy, and build a very long-lasting and a value-creating relationship for both of yourselves. So with that, good luck to all of us over here, and let's create the future together. Hang on. Dialogue. So I'm just going to open it up for 2 minutes. I think I'm over time now. Monica? Yeah. But since I promised a dialogue, are there any thoughts, any guidance? What can MMA be doing differently? What should we be addressing? Where are your big challenges? Where would you like us to help you and your teams? Any thoughts are welcome. Yeah, we've got one brave soul. Please hand a mic.
Hello, sir. So as you told that data complexity is one of the key challenges that we need to address and identify, and then we need to work on it. While we have been working with a tool like Intelsys.ai, which is our own tool that solves this problem, and we have been trying to establish this as a problem statement to many marketeers we have been reaching out. And we have been struggling to get that urgency within the marketing team to identify this as a problem. So what do you suggest could actually help us establish this as a key problem and we need to solve it?
I'm sorry, I missed the first line. Your mic was not closed. What exactly do you do?
All right, so we have been working to solve this as a problem.
Solve what problem?
Data complexity.
Data complexity. Okay.
Yes.
And the marketeers are unwilling to invest in your tool.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, so the other hat which I wear is private equity. And I look for gems like you, right? So I can tell you that 8 out of 10 great solutions pretty much die without scaling up. And the reason is that we marketeers have a very small appetite for risk. We don't have the ability to go to our boards and make a case for investment. However, if you have a tool which gives a positive ROI in realistic time and gives a realistic payback, that's why I'm asking you, start with the end in mind. Most corporations today, we know we've got a slowdown in corporate earnings. They're stressed. Among the first things they start doing is, first thing they do is cut travel budget. No 5 stars, no entertainment. What do they cut next? Marketing. So this is our environment. That's the reality. So, but if you have got a pitch which says, I can create positive payback within the year, and I've got an ROI with an IRR of 28%, you and I should talk, and I'll introduce you to Nikhil over there, who runs a great company, and he might be your next customer.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
How's that for a setup? One last question. Thank you. Okay, just one more. There you go.
I will ask, on the same lines that you started your discussion with, there are a lot of bodies, right? And there are a lot of discussion, there are a lot of basically award shows, right? So what, as a marketers, we can cross-learn in terms of workshops, right? Which basically, for example, I was running a product community. So there are a lot of workshops happens where people learn cross-learnings across different organizations, right? So I think from a MMA perspective, right, obviously having read through different materials is a great help, but having that cross-learning with a workshop setup will help marketers like us or everyone to learn what other companies are doing.
And that is the reason of existence of MMA. So thank you very much for being, a very, very important potential stakeholder for us. That's exactly what we hope to do. And as the day progresses during the break, let me introduce you to our team who will talk to you about what we are already doing in this area, and we can identify your specific requirement over here, and we'll address that. So I'm really over time, and with that, since there were prizes for being on time, and I know I've lost my prize, I'm going to hand it over to the next speaker, and have a great day.